If these fields and courts could talk, they would tell you about the greatness of the history of our athletes in Royse City, Texas. Royse City Athletics is home of some of the most memorable athletes in the state, dating back to the early 1900s, and no one knows the history of Royse City Athletics more than a man by the name of Bobby Summers.
We have a lot of history in our school district, and our school district is so old, and it goes back back nearly 120 years. 1911 was when Royse City's football started, and that's when we had our first football games. Football was not, still was in its infancy at that time.
But after the success the athletics program has brought over the last century, Royse City had been missing one thing: a Hall of Fame.
As far as putting the Hall of Fame together, we wanted to go back as far as we could, but we wanted to make sure that we documented everything and made sure that we had proof of everything that we had. And so far, we've been successful to do that. First was going back and remembering some of the days, that I went to school here, and my family dates back into the 1890s. My family did. We've got like 4 generations, and so I wanted to go back during that time, and what it was like was to go back and to call some of these guys that are still around, and it was exciting to be able to call them and tell them that they were part of the Hall of Fame, because we wanted those guys to be remembered.
On the night of Friday, October 13th, 2017, the first 15 members of the Hall of Fame were inducted and recognized for their outstanding accomplishments at Royse City High School.
We wanted to go back as far as we could first and get some of the older players, so that's the reason we got some of the 1928s, 1930s, and you remember Bob Crowell came out, and he was 104 years old, and that Royse City's first district championship was in 1930. So Bob Crowell came to our game that night, and so he's one of the other guys, and his family is around Royse City. Those are the typical type of people that we wanted to make sure that represented our school district and represented the Hall of Fame, and we wanted to make sure it was a true Hall of Fame.
Robert Bob Crowell played guard for Royse City and was a part of the first district championship team in 1930. Our oldest living Hall of Fame inductee at the time of our induction, and the oldest living ex-Royse City football player born in 1913, making him 104 years old.
Yeah, I played offense and defense, and I did all the kicking.
All the kicking.
And he was a very good football player, very large for his size. He played on our first district championship, so we wanted, he's here, we wanted to make sure that we got him on our Hall of Fame. The oldest guy and the first one that went on the first ballot was G.C. Muledow. Gwen, not born in Royse City, but he came up to Royse City and he graduated from Royse City. And after he played football for Royse City, he went to Texas Tech. And while he was out there, he set all kinds of records out there. What they call it was the border conferences. So he helped them win the border conference for Texas Tech. The next guys in the 40s were Arthur Pollard, and Mr. Pollard left here. He got a scholarship to play for Texas A&M.
Arthur Pollard quit school at Texas A&M to join World War II until 1945.
To the 1950s, there is just a ton of talent in those guys. It was the Southwest Conference at Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, SMU, TCU, and all those guys. They were out here trying to find, they wanted players from Royse City.
Gene Burks is one of our Hall of Fame inductees who was a part of the great 1950s Royse City football era.
Gene Burks was one of those. Gene Burks was recruited by Oklahoma.
Well, he actually told me that football, once he got out of football, he had an injury and forced him out of it. Helped him in business, and I mean, being competitive and stuff like that, it just helped him on throughout his whole life.
Burks broke his leg and was unable to finish the rest of his season at Oklahoma. But Burks learned a lot from his time on the field, and what better way to honor him than being inducted into the new Hall of Fame.
Then we had Jerry Holland that we talked about. They called him Choo Choo. He went to the University of Texas. As a freshman, he was a starting fullback at Texas.
My family moved here in the summer of '54. And I worked out with the team that year, but I was ineligible to play. But I worked out with them and traveled with them. And it was a learning experience. You know, it was I learned a lot about what it meant to be a Bulldog. And then played in '55 and '56. After high school, I went to UT, Austin, and I played on the freshman team down there and started the first 3 ball games and I re-injured my neck, and I had a neck injury from high school, and then my sophomore year, Coach Royse sent me to a neurosurgeon in Austin, and he told me if I got hit right, I'd be paralyzed, or could be. And so, anyway, I didn't play after that. Coach Royal made my scholarship good. He was really good to me. So I finished there in 4 years, and then I did some teaching and coaching and military service and construction work, all kinds of things after that.
Danny Davison, known as Dart Davison. As Bobby Summers puts it, one of Royse City ISD's most prolific athletes. Graduating in 1959, the nickname Dart was known for his incredible moves at full speed. He went undefeated as a Bulldog until his very last game of his senior season in 1958. He led the state in career scoring while at RCISD.
We had exceptional ball players, exceptional teams. We liked to win. And so we looked at it this way: you go out there and you work just as hard and you lose, why not win? So I played at an exceptional time with exceptional athletes. After high school, I had a scholarship to Texas A&M University. And I was interested in agriculture, mainly veterinary medicine. I was set on A&M. I had a chance to go to other schools, but I was going to A&M. And a lot of good athletes I played with. And we like to get off that farm maybe and get a college degree.
Davison was drafted by the NFL. However, he chose a career in ranching and remains in the heart of South Central Texas.
We had Jimmy Don Edwards the next year after that in the 1960s, early 60s. He was also recruited by Texas Tech. He went out there and played all 4 years for Texas Tech.
Jimmy Don Edwards played for the Royse City Bulldogs in the late 50s and early 60s, playing basketball, football, and track. He played for Coach J.T. King, who labeled Jim as one of the 6 best football players he had ever coached at Texas Tech. Desmond Robinson, known as Stick Robinson, was an outstanding tailback for the Royse City football program, leading the Bulldogs to consecutive district championships in the late 1980s, and received a scholarship to play at the collegiate level.
He went to Ottawa University. That's where he got he got his bachelor's degree up there, and he went there for 4 years. We
give an award out for Stick Robinson every year.
Because even though Stick was the spotlight, but he still also like for somebody else to carry the ball too. You know, he never think he was better than anyone else. He let the other boys would like to let them try to show their qualities and how good they are too. But he learned a lot of obedience at Royse City.
Due to the complications of leukemia, Stick passed away at the age of 26.
In being down, he saw how the other half lived, because he learned how when you can be up today and down tomorrow, that's a good lesson to realize that you're not always on top and you're not always strong. Stick was looking forward to a football career. Okay, the Lord has something different in store for him. And my mom raised him in church, so he know how it is to have faith in God. Because, like I say, when you're up one day and down the next, but his faith in God kicked in and saw him through that while he was in the hospital.
And then we went into a lot of the girls. We couldn't find a lot of information about girls' athletics that we could document. We found things about girls, but we couldn't document them. The very first one that we found out about was a girl named Velma George.
If there was ever a Lady Bulldogs basketball player that could do it all, it would be Velma George. A member of the 1971 class, George averaged 34 points and 9 rebounds a game her senior season. George also led her team to the District 13 1A championship.
And we had Jennifer Goodwin. She was a state champion in tennis.
Jennifer Goodwin was a 1995 tennis state champion, making her one of the first state champions in Royse City Athletics history.
When I was here, the tennis courts were made of concrete, so not even made of what they're normally made of. So after high school, I went to college and played tennis, graduated from UTA, taught tennis for a while, and that's about all.
I think some of my favorite memories, a lot of them were on the court, on the volleyball court. A lot of them were on the track, but a lot of them came from moments in the locker room, pep rallies within the school district. I think just being a part of a team and being a part of a district, a school district that has great school spirit to it, brings a lot of great memories.
Skylar left Royse City. She was really good in just about everything she did. Skylar was a basketball player, she was a volleyball player, she was great in track. She still holds the state record in the girls' high jump for Royse City.
So things like going to the state track meet were obviously fun, winning district, being a part of the one volleyball team who's gone the furthest here at Royse City, that was an awesome memory. But just being around my friends and my teammates really, really made it memorable for me. After high school, I went to Oklahoma Baptist University. I played volleyball and ran track there. The program was only up for 2 years whenever I went there. And then by the time I got to be a senior, we made it into the national finals for volleyball. And then I also ran track, and so I was a part of a national championship track team, so that was an awesome experience.
Richard Morrison came to Royse City as a sophomore, but he graduated from Royse, and while he was at Royse City, one particular game, he passed for nearly 500 yards and 9 touchdowns. I mean, he was just an all-around athlete.
Richard Morrison was the starting quarterback for the Bulldogs his sophomore year. He was a 2-time All-State quarterback. Morrison led the Bulldogs to their first appearance to the state quarterfinals since 1998 and received a full scholarship to play football for the University of Arizona as a wide receiver.
And he was just an all-around athlete. He still holds the 100-meter record for Royse City also.
Meghan Frost, a high-level athlete in several track and field events during her time at Royse City. She was a multiple record holder, and in 2007, she achieved one of the only women's state championships in the 400-meter dash.
After high school, I went to the University of Houston, where I was a heptathlete and open high jumper for 5 years because I got a redshirt year. And then after that, I went to Northern Kentucky University to get my MBA, and while I was there, I was a graduate assistant coach, and I coached the heptathletes and high jumpers. When I started track and field, or started any athletics at all, it was my 7th grade year here at Royse City, and I didn't even know what sports were. So the fact that Coach Knoll put me on the A-team basketball team, I was like shocked. And then just knowing from there on that I could be a part of athletics and that scholarships were an option to go to track created track to be more than just track to me. It was a way to get a college degree, and I owe a lot of that to Coach Strom, Coach Barbie, Coach Bookout, Coach Noel, Coach Marshall, just all the phenomenal coaches.
I think it's just like coming back here, and it's crazy because you don't remember everybody, and then you come back and you see all the faces, and you're just like, it's insane how loving and welcoming everybody has been, and it's just really great.
As a Bulldog softball pitcher, Alicia Pili was named the 13-4A MVP after throwing 16 shutouts, 9 no-hitters, and 3 perfect games her senior season. She helped the Bulldogs to a by-district championship in 2010.
I went to play softball at KU, got a scholarship there in Lawrence, and it was really fun. Played there for 4 years, and then now I'm in Kansas City at the KU Medical Center for studying occupational therapy. I think the biggest thing was just like being with all of my teammates and like going on the road trips, and it was just like a lot of fun. My favorite game was when we were actually raising money for Children's Mercy Hospital, and so every strikeout we got, they donated money to the hospital, and it ended up being at like a 16-inning game, and we had like 33 strikeouts and raised like all of this money, and it was perfect. That was like my favorite.
Our final Hall of Fame inductee is none other than Miss Sharvia Bell. Bell was a 3-sports letterman in volleyball, basketball, and track. She was an all-state volleyball player and still holds the pole vault record for the Lady Bulldogs. But when she went to college, her sport became cheerleading.
I actually went to UNT. I went there on the track scholarship to pole vault. I did it for 2 years, and then I realized I don't really, it wasn't my thing in college. I was really used to my private coach that I had in high school, and I always did competitive cheerleading, and I also cheered at Royse City. And so I was like, well, I have all the skills, I can tumble, and I tried out for the cheerleading squad, and I ended up making captain my second year, so that was exciting as well. I would have to say my favorite memory would be when we won district my senior year, because it was really tough. My junior year, we won, we went 10-0. But my senior year, it came down to the wire, and we had to win our last game in order to win, and we did, and we just went completely nuts. So that was really exciting. And probably my track favorite memory would be we went to Kansas Relays. I didn't jump so well at that one, but it was so exciting just to have that experience. We stayed at Coach Strom's, like their family house, and it was just fun. It was so cold.
We asked some of our athletes what their relationship from Royse City Athletics means to them and how it has impacted their lives today.
So my dad was my head track coach in high school, so obviously I still have a relationship with him. And then I still talk to Coach Tharp, who was one of my volleyball coaches, Coach Witt. I talked to Coach Marshall. She's one of my close family friends.
Well, the group of guys that I played with were just really exceptional. I mean, we had a little saying that a team that won't be beat can't be beat, and we would say that before each game and then at the half.
Winning. We had exceptional ball players, exceptional teams. We like to win, and so we looked at it this way. You go out there and you work just as hard and you lose, why not win? So
sophomore year, I rolled my ankle at the end of basketball season, and I thought my track season was potentially done, and I cross-trained on a bike forever, and because I couldn't run, so basketball season ended, and I cross-trained and cross-trained and cross-trained, and finally, that was the year that I won state off of starting the season with a rolled ankle, so it taught me that just because you might be out, you're not out.
My teammates, I'm still friends with all of them. I talk to them through Facebook and through social media, and then a few of them I'm really good friends with still to this day, and we talk on a regular basis. So I know as far as coaches, I can't even name them all because there's just too many to thank, but I'm so appreciative of everything that they've done for me.
So most of the coaches, teachers here, of course, actually provide the groundwork for the rest of our lives.
I think we picked the 15 the first year. This next year we'll probably pick 15 again, and then after that, then it'll probably go down to 5 or 6, and then 1 or 2 the year after that.
A Hall of Fame is more than just recognizing an athlete's success.
It's about the recognition of their experiences at Royse City and honoring the impact that they've had on the school, the community, and the current athletes and future athletes to come.